Troll.
Hi and welcome to the Gandalf's Fist podcast, episode 2. My name is Dean and today I am joined by, well, absolutely nobody, actually, because I'm speaking to you from Podcast Future. It has been many months since the conversation which you're about to hear was originally recorded, so I'm here at the start to give you a bit of backstory as to what's the deal with that. We are, first and foremost, a progressive rock band. We are nerds, but well-rounded nerds, as we so eloquently put it in our very first magazine interview around a decade ago. We like to use our podcast for talking about weird, nerdy things, but first and foremost, we are a progressive rock band. So every so often we're going to stray away from the minutiae of all things geeky and movies to talk about music, of course, and more specifically, our music. Today's discussion is from the Gandalf's Fist archives, and it centers around our debut album, The Master and the Monkey. We recorded this about 10 years ago. It was just a demo. Nobody was meant to hear it. And then some people did hear it, so we quickly deleted it and hid it away for 10 years. Eventually, we did build up a bit of a following, and people were quite keen to hear it, but we refused. Until this very year, the year of our Lord 2021. And we re-recorded this album. We made it as good as our recent releases, something that we're actually really proud of now. And it's a really stellar release and it's got great reviews. So we decided earlier on this year that we would release the original version so people could see just how much better the new version was. But we didn't really feel confident to do that. We thought that people would instantly realize what a sham act we are and how bad our music can really get. So we really wanted to caveat that release with a discussion around why the original recording sounds that bad. It's almost like a disclaimer, really. So we recorded a behind-the-scenes chat, myself and Luke, the only members of the band at that time, and for a considerable amount of time, actually. So we thought it would be a good idea to include this in our podcast. If you're not familiar with our music, then it's going to give you a quick sort of heads up of what we're all about and where we came from. And if you are familiar, it'll be a nice little trip down memory lane into the early days when it was just me, Luke, a broken guitar, and a bag of dreams. A couple of mini caveats before you delve deep into the discussion. Number one, it gets quite sweary. It does. Myself and Luke had a couple of drinks, a Scotch whiskey, brandies, baby shams, and the conversation was flowing quite freely. We never knew that this was going to be included in a podcast, so there is a few swear words in there. Do not play it in front of your elderly relatives or any vulnerable children. The second thing to say is, as just mentioned, we didn't know this was going to be included in a podcast. At this point, lockdown had just begun. Luke did not have any pro recording studio equipment in his house, so we recorded this over Skype. You'll be well aware of our first episode and the higher production values, so if Luke sounds like he has been recorded from inside a toilet, that is why. So bear that in mind. There is a lower fidelity as we recorded this over Skype. But it's important to get this archive stuff out the way early on before you get too used to how slick we're going to get. So, without further ado, and before we get back to our usual geeky discussions next time, enjoy the discussion of Mastering the Monkey. Hello, and welcome to Mastering the Monkey, a behind-the-scenes look at our debut album, The Master and the Monkey. I'm Dean from Gandalf's Fist, and over the magic of the internet, we also have
Luke from Gandalf's Fist.
So we're recording this at separate locations, mainly because of all the madness that's going down in the world at the moment, and we're sort of all, both in our underground bunkers, keeping a safe distance of about 300 miles or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So what we're going to do is after much like sort of pressure and requests, we've decided finally to put The Master and the Monkey up as a lossless download for people to be able to get for the first time. It's never officially come out on CD. And the reason why we've never really done that is we don't really like it.
It is genuinely like there's a couple of bits that are like okay, but honestly, it's unlistable. Like
So
the sort of stuff we've done in the past 5 years, which is like quality that we consider like the peak of Gandalf's fist. This is the dirty, horrible origins, and it's not good.
But the thing is, it's coming up to 10 years since we did this. And what we're currently doing is we're revisiting The Master and the Monkey and doing a special edition for it to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of official Gandalf's Fist albums. So one of the reasons why I thought actually it's finally a good time to put this one out there is because if people don't hear this shit version, then they're not going to know how good the new one is.
That is very true. No, and it's not like the songs are bad on the album. Let's be clear, the songs aren't bad. It was just that the recording process and the skill of us 10 years ago was just not up to the standard that we feel is something that we want to put out and let people pay for.
So we haven't really thought of any structure, and we deliberately haven't done that. We're just going to sort of chat. But one thing we will do probably to start with is we'll delve into the backstory of what Gandalf's fist was back then, because it's vastly different from 9-10 years down the line where we currently find ourselves, and that should maybe give a bit of context. And then we're just probably going to chat through the different songs, what we like about them and how they're going to sort of change for the new release. That's the plan anyway. So I'm recording this through in Gandalf's Fist Studios. So hopefully the plan is that my audio comes through nice, crisp and clear.
And I'll probably sound like I'm somewhere under a toilet. I am under a toilet. I'm sitting in my living room drinking beer. But no, genuinely, I'm recording this over the microphone on my smartphone. So this might not work.
It will probably
work.
sound better than the original Master and the Monkey vocal takes, at the very least. Okay, so we've in the numerous sort of interviews that we've done for like radios and podcasts and like the written webzines and stuff like that and all these blogs, we've got enough into where sorry, I'm like constantly gassing now after we just like chatted for like a solid half an hour before starting recording, and I've just drank like beer way too quickly. But we've constantly talk about the origin of Gandalf's Fist and how it was originally a silly name that our mutual mate Todd came up with, and it wasn't a real band. So I don't really want to go.
No, and this is really when it kind of, and I would say even by the end of this, even by the time we put this album out, it still really wasn't a real band, was it?
No,
we just kind of. I mean, I would say it wasn't a real band until like Road to Darkness came out, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah. So we so just to briefly summarize, it wasn't a real band. We at university, when we were both living in Newcastle, our mate came up with the silly name, and then me and Luke and a couple of other people that we know came up with the idea is MySpace was the big social media thing at the time. We put a fake band on there, and we've put really crappily photoshopped pictures of ourselves on there.
They were terrible. They are still on there somewhere in the dark depths of the
yeah.
Oh, they are. That picture of Ben superimposed onto that really burly Piper.
We might see if we can find them, but yeah. So and we didn't even use our real names. So like we gave ourselves stupid names. Now, Luke, your name was already set in stone because people were already calling you Pinto at this point.
And to be fair, you were Wapnar, so it wasn't that far away. Although we did calling Tim Admiral Poon was away in Belgium. That's the only place that came from. So no, they weren't our real names. And if you'd search them, the thing is, they popped up again like 4 years later, didn't they? When we were releasing another album, people were like, "Oh, so these are the members of the band." We were like, No, that's really not true. Because we thought it all gone, and suddenly it just kind of reappeared, didn't it?
Yeah. Nothing ever gets deleted. It's always lurking somewhere. But yeah, that was the idea. And I would make up like little crappy bits of music, really, and we would put them on there and give them silly titles and stuff like that.
I was photoshopping plagiarized artwork from
Yeah.
to make like album covers, just like put Gandalf's fist on there. That'll look awesome. Change the color. Nobody will know. Not that we ever really made any money off those. So we don't owe anybody anymore.
So when do you think it was we were doing that? Like 2004, something like that?
When we're doing that? No.
Yeah.
No. It must have been because I graduated uni 2006. You graduated 2007. So you were living, and then we were literally living like 2 streets away then. So that must have been around about that time.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. And then it lay dormant on MySpace after for a while, and then it wasn't until the back end of 2010 when Master and the Monkeys started to like appear. I don't know what the impetus for that was. Do you remember?
No, it was Stakes. Stakes was the one that you worked on. That was the one that I first remember hearing. That's the song that I remember just kind of, you'd taken one that we'd done previously, and then suddenly it just kind of developed into this song. And I don't know whether the idea of the concept or the Master and the Monkey had even come about by that point, but I definitely remember you working on Stakes and you saying, "Oh, I've made this song. This is a new Gandalf Fist song," and I was like, "Okay."
So I think what really happened was I had a few genuine musical ideas knocking around. I couldn't quite decide what I was going to do with them. And over the sort of few years in between doing the Master of the Monkey and graduating university, all these ideas started to gather, and I wasn't sure what to do with them at all. So there was Stakes, what became Stakes. Believe it or not, Emerald Eyes was I wrote even before that. There was the Master and the Monkey title track and a few other bits and bobs. And what I really thought I wanted to do was do a album based around like the myths and legends of Cumbria. So Stakes at Low Tide was based around a myth from the Solway Firth, even though it's told from the Scottish side of the channel. And I thought that I would just do a concept album about that story, about like killing like a dragon, like a Beowulf sort of on the Solway Plains kind of thing. So that was the idea. And then I came up with the space rock thing for Emerald Eyes. This was when I was going through like the Pink Floyd phase. And I really didn't know what to do with them. And I had so much low self-confidence that I definitely already thought that I was going to put it out there under like an assumed moniker or whatever. So these things were just sort of lying around, not really doing anything with them. There's a few other songs that I wrote around that time that like we never have used at all. But what I remember is that me, you, and Tim, we were drinking in the Lifeboat Inn in Maryport in 2010, and we were sat in the corner and we were absolutely kaled. And you just goes, "You know what, guys? I want to write a story."
Yeah, you know what? I'd forgotten about that. I really had. I'd forgotten it was me, you, and Tim sitting in the pub, wasn't it, having a drink? And we really were. That's where that Master and the Monkey thing came from, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was just you going off on about pretty much the idea of this thing, talking about monkeys and frogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that was, but it must have been maybe about in summertime, 2010, something like that.
Yeah. I think I was. It was in that time when I was living in Scotland, so I'd come down to see you guys because I was fairly local, and that's when it was.
Yeah, it must have been around that time when you would like just rock up, like randomly appear on my like really shitty like hovel flat and say like, "I'm here for like a week. You go to work while I drink your beer and complete all your fucking computer games."
Yeah, there was a bit of that. Oh yeah, no, it was a weird time because I was like between jobs anyway, and I just had loads of free time, so I just used to come and see you. You were working like full time at the college by then, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I'd forgotten about that. No, but yeah, you're right. That's when that story came about. The story. Anyway, should we talk about the story?
Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about the story, but the basic point was I took your idea from the story and I redeveloped some of these ideas that I'd come up with and molded them around this crazy idea that you had. But yeah, since you brought it up, what is the story of the Master and the Monkey, Luke?
Well, basically, there's a frog, and he's French, obviously, and he's lost his legs to a French cook because you know frog's legs, but he's still alive, but he's got no legs, and he travels around in the pork pie hat wearing monkey. I think that's basically the story, and that all came about because you had that monkey butler in your house, right?
That's true. I did have a monkey butler in my house. Let's be clear that was just like one of those um, random things. Like when you're leaving a restaurant, it's got like the fiberglass figurine that you can like pop a little tip on. That for some reason, my mother decided she would buy from like a tapas restaurant in Carlisle or something for me for Christmas one year. Just to be clear, I wasn't involved in the catering and hospitality industry in any shape or form. I did not own a cafe. It was just a random
And
fiberglass.
and you also didn't own a monkey butler.
That's true. So, so yeah. So that must have been playing on your subconscious at some point. But
Yes.
you went away. You went away afterwards. After I started to work on the album and stuff. And pretty much, like alongside, started writing like the actual story, like a novel.
Yeah, I knocked out 5 chapters in about 3 weeks, and then it's never been completed. I still think there's those 5 chapters. I don't think.
Hey, what? There was like, well, I found like 12 chapters. I put them out on the advent calendar that we just did in December.
Yeah, but I wrote quite a lot quite quickly, and then you came up with that blurb thing that you did, and that kind of spurred me on to write some more because I think by that point you'd started developing that into the album, and you were using that, and then you wrote that blurb thing, and yeah, that kind of spurred me on. But there was lots of things there was lots of games. There was like a pelican in there. There was lots of monkey monkey sex from what I remember.
That's the basic plot, isn't it? The monkey, that is the monkey and the master and the monkey is just in perpetually trying to get laid while the frog gambles. That's the story, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, getting laid and having a drink. That's basically he's a good time monkey. He's a good time monkey, and basically the frog's always getting into trouble because basically he thinks he's really clever, and he's actually not that clever, and he's always getting into bother and always having to have the monkey like basically bodily like grab him up and run away from whatever danger that the frog's like gotten himself into. But yeah, that was kind of it. But yeah, it was a fun yarn. I kind of did it in the kind of Terry Pratchett kind of style. That was kind of my feelings towards it, you know, kind of tongue in cheek, a bit silly, you know, this kind of fantasy world. And that's kind of where it kind of, you know, that was the kind of idea. I was kind of aiming for that kind of silliness, kind of lark of a story rather than a serious tale about a monkey and a frog.
Well, so that's the impetus behind the story, which is very loosely, I suppose, alluded to in the songs. Should we talk about why? I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like it should be the best album in the world based on that conceptual synopsis. So should we talk about why we don't like this album then before we get on to why we do like this album? So why does it sound so bad? We've talked up like almost like as if we were working on this for weeks and weeks in pre-production, but the actual recording of it wasn't that long at all, was it?
No, I mean, for instance, one of the tracks, Siren's Kiss, I think we wrote and recorded in a day. I think we pretty much started at lunchtime, and by the evening it was done. So that's not great. that wouldn't pass today's Gandalf's Fist quality control test.
From my memory, you came over from a bank holiday weekend or something like that, and we did the whole album in that weekend.
I think you'd done. I think Stakes was there, and I think I think you'd already started working, and I seem to remember we'd done Master and the Monkey Part 1, and then you came back a couple of days later and got, oh yeah, I've wrote a Part 2, and they were like obviously like really really long, as is Gandalf's Fist way, quite long tracks of fairly, and let's be clear, a lot of this album's just instrumental because we had no confidence in either of our vocals at the time. Would that be fair?
Yeah, exactly. And that explains why the weakest part of the album is the vocals, because when we do sing, it's done with like you said before, zero quality control. It's like, right, let's sing it. Right, we're done. No retakes. And we usually recorded it after we'd been to the pub as well. It's like, we're not going to spend like daylight hours doing something as silly as recording an album about a monkey and a frog. This was silliness for like after the pub shenanigans and that.
Yeah. And the other part of it is the equipment we were using. That it wasn't, we were talking a 10-year-old guitar at that point, maybe.
Yeah, and a cheap one at that, like a proper beginner's starter guitar.
And then microphones that, didn't you have a microphone that was like a room microphone, and we were using that as like the main recording one?
It's the only thing I could afford, and it was like, yeah, you're right, exactly right. It was an overhead mic for like a drum kit where you would sort of like put over it to capture like the cymbal sounds or the ambience or stuff like that. I still have that microphone. It's good for like sticking in the back of the room and recording acoustic guitars and stuff like that. It's not a bad microphone, but we used it for literally everything. And when we had the takes as well, it was like cringeworthy to listen to our own voice. So we just buried them like really low down so you can't hear what anybody's singing, and then like loads and loads of effects and delay and reverb and chorus.
Auto-tune to Cher standards, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we didn't know how to use auto-tune either, so it wasn't even like subtle, so it doesn't sound good. It is quite abrasive at some points, but maybe that's just because it sounds worse to us now because we know what we're doing. Maybe it won't sound as bad to people who aren't as, I don't know,
thing is,
hypercritical.
If someone coming new to that, then fair enough, they might go, oh, it's not great, but it's not terrible. Whereas us, who've lived with those tracks for nigh on 10 years now, listening to our current stuff, I'd go, yeah, no, I'd rather listen to something off the later album. Thank you.
So people might be wondering, like, why wasn't there any quality control? Why didn't you give a shit? Why didn't you do like more than one take? Why didn't you just, work on it until it sounded good? And the answer to that is that it was still a fake band. We were still using these. We just resurrected the silly thing we were doing at university, and we had no fan base, no followers. We went straight back onto the MySpace thing or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we updated it for Facebook. I don't remember, but we were still posting the fake artwork plagiarized from like famous artists, and we were still using the monikers and the fake names.
Yeah,
because
we did. Was that about the same time we got that? We started using, what was it called? It was band something, wasn't it? We started using another site, and we were getting like, was that later? Was that after Road to Darkness?
So no, you're right. So what we did is the fun for us after we did Master Monkey, or while we were doing it, wasn't really to like post silly stuff or do silly photoshops anymore. Like we did mock up some silly photographs, like of like I've still got them somewhere. If you like, you doing a Bono pose with the like drum microphone that we were using for recording the vocals, and like there's one of you with my like 6-string banjo pretending like you're playing it, like wearing like a ski hat or something like that, and we like granulized it like to shit to make it look like it wasn't in like my spare room in Maryport. Make it like, oh, this could be in the corner of a studio somewhere, the worst studio with the worst equipment. But we were still doing that, and so the fun for us was we treated it like a video game. At least I did, as like almost like we were playing like a band simulator game, like we play like Football Manager and stuff like that. We were basically doing that with like our fake band Gandalf's Fist. There was a website that's still like we still have a profile on there, but we don't engage with it anymore, and that's called like is it Reverb Nation, something like that?
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name.
And it was basically like after MySpace folded, and there was all of the because MySpace was basically people with like pretentious like selfies and bands, like bands trying to add you all the time. You click on their page and their music starts playing whether you want it or not. So after MySpace like died in the like social media graveyard, basically the music side of it was basically this Reverb Nation thing, but it was still the same shit, like random people like adding each other and stuff like that.
It was crazy because we like you say, it was like a video game because we ended up like getting like albums up into like top tens of like rock rock chart on Reverb Nation. It was like we were the top 10 in England for prog rock and all this kind of thing, and it was just like we were just like, I think we had like 30,000 followers on there or something. It was insane.
But it just makes me wonder is if that like playing that like video game and like seeing how like many followers we could get on this silly social media site and stuff like that, whether that played a part in like people like Prog Rock Magazine or like things like that initially making contact with us, because we didn't like contact them. We weren't like a real band.
No,
We like they like somebody from their like team contacted us and said, do you want to do a feature or like have a CD and stuff like that? So somebody must have found out about us somehow, and it definitely wasn't on our behalf.
Planet Rock first, wasn't it? That's where we got that that exposure. That I seem to remember that was the first kind of, and we were just like, oh my god, this is an actual radio station, like wanting to like, you know, and we were getting on like their prog show and stuff.
I'm not sure of that. I mean, I think that was definitely as we did Universal Wanderer, because they played Stowaway quite a lot. But I think early doors, 2011, definitely Prog Magazine were the ones that sort of picked us up originally out of obscurity, which was random. So like, because we didn't have any promo shots and we weren't a real band, our first thing of like Prog Magazine, when it was the very first issue of Prog, actually, wasn't it? It used to be Classic Rock Presents Prog.
Yeah.
So the very first issue that they ever did, where it was just called Prog Magazine, and it had a picture of Ian Anderson on the front, and we were on the CD, and we picked, and we're jumping ahead, you know, to Road to Darkness, but we had Into the Dark on there, but we had no promo pictures or anything. So the picture like of us in that magazine is just your fucking Facebook profile picture from 2011.
Yeah.
just you.
Because when we after that, when we decided we were going to be a real band and we were going to do like be the two of us as the band, we went to Newcastle and took Helen along, didn't we? And we did the photo shoot. That must have been around that time.
That was after that. That was after we realised that it was ridiculous to put your Facebook profile as our band promo shot on a like international magazine, considering mainly one, you don't even sing on the song that was on there.
Well, that's a lot of stuff, Dean. I mean, let's be clear. I'm here talking about this, but let's face it, 90% of this was you. Let's be clear. My input to this was mainly moral support and saying, should we go to the pub?
It's true. But it was good fun. The most fun part of like Gandalf's Fist has been when we've set aside time to do like, you know, right, let's sit in a room, write some lyrics, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So no, and that continued all the way until when even after we did our like first live shows and stuff, we were still kind of edging towards that's the best way to record, weren't we?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's just I would still do that every day of the week if we had time. It's just like, you know, and we planned all of the like Clockwork Fable in that way as well, initially, and then remotely, sort of. So you know, but we're sort of jumping ahead a little bit.
We are doing that.
But it sort of just shows to light, right? So, Master and the Monkey was released in 2011. Clockwork Fable was released in 2016. So 5 years separate those two records. That's crazy.
Yeah, and how many records do we do in that time, Dean?
Right, so
No,
In 20, well, here's something that's even more crazy, right? So, Master and the Monkey was released in January 2011. And then in July, 1st of July 2011, the entire Road to Darkness album came out.
and then when was Soul White?
Same year.
In the October, maybe?
Something like that towards the end. Definitely like.
So in 2011, we put 3 albums out. One of them was technically an EP.
Yeah, but it was
album length.
yeah. But it just goes to show. I mean, you know, and even the jump from Master and the Monkey to Road to Darkness. So yeah, it's the reason why we don't like it so much is that we didn't think it was a real thing at the time. We put no real sort of quality control on it. And it's just, I mean, the reason why we haven't put it out there is because it's just a bit embarrassing, you know. So like, because people associate us with being able to like hold our own a little bit against the big boys when we like self-produce things. So you know, when we have this sort of lurking in the background for somebody to like suddenly like, all right, let's listen to some Gandalf's Fist on shuffle, and then something from this pops up,
and they get Salvia the Troll.
and they get Salvia the Troll. But my thing is that like we've definitely ruled ourselves out as a shuffle band anyway, so why the hell not? Because I think, you know, imagine like it's funny when Spotify like goes onto shuffle and you do Gandalf's Fist, and then it's like a 50-50 chance you're going to get some like random like narrative track about badgers from like the Clockwork Fable, you know. So it's shuffling our discovery through like playlists and shuffle and Spotify. It's not going to happen, really. I mean, the weirdest thing I found was when like Stefan sent our like Forest of Fair stuff to like some radio station, some internet radio station somewhere, and the song that they played was The Figure Speaks. The spoken word intro into World We Created. That was the song they played. Anyway, so that's why we don't like it, is that we were a fake band at the time. We had no quality control. Well, we didn't do any quality control, and we just sort of put it out there so we could play like, here's our silly thing. You know, the fake band thing. It's only recently I discovered that that's how like Porcupine Tree started out. Did you know that? Like Stephen Wilson, he did like the same thing we did. He put out Porcupine Tree wasn't a real band. He did like the fake band thing, and he put out like a fake album called like, I don't know, Tarquin Seaweed Farm, and it was just him playing all the instruments and stuff like I did with like loads of invented band members.
No, it doesn't surprise me. Thing is with the kind of genre that we're in, you can kind of get away with it because, you know, not being funny, but there are people out there that do. You know, there's people out there doing that tonight. You know, there's people out there doing that right now, and they're putting it out. The difference with us and the difference with Porcupine Tree, obviously Porcupine Tree far more successful than we've been, but the difference with us is that we're in the public consciousness, which is really weird. You know, can I just take us a little sidebar into how far we've come? The fact that, you know, like when we put that Wax Cylinder out the other week, you know, the other month, we had like, you know, that video that came through, and it was like an actual member of like, was it Pink Floyd? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the guy who co-wrote Atom Heart Mother and Ron Geeson.
Yeah. Like that, but they, you know, he knew who we were. You know, we reached out to Arjun from Arion, and he knew who we were. You know, these things are weird from a band that started out as, oh well, this is a really awful fake Photoshop picture of our friend, and we've all got silly names. To go from that to where we are, you know, we still like to get bigger. We'd still like to, you know, have a multi-selling platinum album or whatever they get when, you know, things go crazy. But, you know, in reality, we're doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. It's difficult to put down what the appeal is, but I'm sure people listening to this might reply and tell us why they like us. We like us, by the way.
Yeah.
we are not one of these, like when you hear like Keith Richards say like, after I've recorded an album, I never listen to any of the songs again. Fuck that. I listen to my shit all the time. I play it in the car all the time.
And that's the difference. You go back to the early days. we were making music for us. That I think we've said that a lot of times. We were making music for us. We weren't making music for other people. We were making music we enjoyed and we like listening to. And honestly, I keep selling to Dean. I keep plugging away. Dean, can we play one of the songs from the Solway album? Can we play that live, please? Because I love tracks. I love some of the early tracks. They're great. And I want people to hear those tracks because I think they're as good as the songs that we've done later. But it is what it is. No, I still if honestly, personally, if I've got a choice, Universal Wanderer every day. I would listen to that album every day, and I'm not even being that is genuinely. And my wife loves that album, and she doesn't like us that much. So
well, yeah, I mean, maybe we'll sort of dip into that. We should think about Universal Wanderer. We've already reissued that one, but we should think about it in terms of a live thing, maybe a bit more. But in terms of this one and the songs, you are right. So I'm currently maybe about halfway through. I'm not going to say remixing it because I am remixing some of the stuff, but
no, Dean, we're calling it remastering. We're remastering that monkey.
Yeah, well, it's not even a remaster, is it? But we're going to call it that because it's catchy and it fits to the title. We're definitely going to call it a special edition. We're not going to call it the Master and the Monkey special edition like we've done with the other ones. We're just going to call it the Remaster and the Monkey, surely.
Yeah.
But because of the poor initial takes and the awful recording equipment we had, most of it is just actually a re-record, to be honest. There's some stuff that I've been able to keep, like some of the acoustic guitar tracks, because obviously it's been recorded with a microphone suitable for that purpose. None of the vocals, none of the bass. We've got Stefan redoing all the percussion. So it's pretty much a re-record. And the two title tracks, Master and the Monkey Part 1 and Part 2, I can't find them anywhere. So what I've actually had to do is completely re-record that from the ground up. Basically like started with like the one that's the original one and just layer up over and over on top of it, and that's been fun, revisiting a piece of music from 10 years ago and learning it and interpreting it in the way that I would record that idea if I'd come to it like today. So it is pretty much a re-record. We might go into some of the specifics as we go through some of the songs now, but the thing as I'm remixing it and recording it is as each song starts to like shine a little bit more, and as the sort of like dust is swept away and the layers of detail are revealed, it is coming across like actually very strong, and some of the songs are like really catchy. So hopefully it comes across as a really good release. It's a bit like it's a bit like when you got a player out on loan and then they come back and all the fans joke that like, oh, just like a new signing. So
that's a really weird analogy, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Sorry, I'm missing football, man. I'm missing football. I'm trying. We're still in lockdown for those of you listening, like when the world's back to normal or whatever, and there's no football and
there's no anything, Dean.
There's no anything. There's just
it's just four walls and the occasional trip to the garden.
Yeah. Well, at least we can delve into our creative sort of ideas and stuff with stuff like this. I feel really sorry for people who haven't got any sort of pastimes like what we've got. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the songs. So like Master and the Monkey Part 1, the first track on the album. This was pre-written before the album, like you already said. And it was originally going to be part of my concept album for like the Stakes at Low Tide themed thing.
Yeah.
Which, so the story is, I'll get into it when we come to that song, which is the next song on the album. But it's basically like a folk story from like Dumfries and Galloway and Cumbria, where I'm from. It shares that little stretch of water, the Solway Firth, and I thought it was a really cool story. And it's almost like it reminds me a lot of Beowulf. So I wanted to do like a concept album on that. And so when I looked at the original demos for this song, so I did find some of the early demos, but not the actual like multi-track recordings. The original working title for this song was "Ripples in the Water."
Ah, I did not know that. There you go.
So it was obviously like supposed to be like this dragon emerging like from the water and stuff like that, and that was the original idea behind the music. Right, it's got such an ominous start to it. The opening sort of motif is one of the few things that like ties all the songs together. There's like a clean guitar part in the background, which is played on pretty much all the songs at some point to sort of link the album together, which is something that we did again on Forest of Fair, just to sort of link the music to the sort of concept to show that it was all linked and not just a random collection of songs. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about this song?
Yeah, it's tricky. As I say, listening to it at the time, I loved it. It was the first track on the album, and I do like it. But I say that now I'm just thinking back to it. It's that I could never understand what you were saying.
Yeah, so this is it. So there's
You buried the vocals in so much effect and such a whispery tone that genuinely you can't make out the lyrics, which is always frustrating me about that track.
Yeah, for reasons that we talked about earlier. And so like I have the lyrics written down, so I've re-recorded them for the remaster in the Monkey, and they sound great. They really do sound good. As well as improving over the last 10 years with like the production side of things. I think that we've all improved like performance wise, singing wise. So they do sound good, but it's just funny because I'm singing with a lot more conviction and a lot more confidence, but the words are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a line in it where it's like, talking about like fucking monkey sex or some shit like that. I don't know, I can't remember. So yeah, I mean, the thing that struck me about this song and always has is that the chorus, even though you can't understand the words as you've said, like it's catchy as hell. The melody is catchy.
Yeah, definitely. No, and it is, and like I say, it's good because obviously then I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, and then obviously you get like the reprise later on with the second part of it, and it's it is good, and it's, I think without that kind of that at the start and that at the end, it would just be like you said before, that little bit of random collection of songs. Whereas with having that, I mean, what are they? Are they 6-7 minutes? These something like that, aren't they?
Yeah. So like this one's about 10 minutes long, the first one, and then the rest of them are really short actually. So like the 3 or 4 minutes long, like Salvia the Troll's like 1.5 minutes, and like the last track is 7 or 8 minutes long.
Definitely. No, but I say it's you start off the album with a 10-minute track. I mean, that's basically us all over, isn't it, Dean?
Pretty much. I mean, there's some stuff in there that again, like I'm not re-recording. So like there's some banjo all the way through this song, and it sounds bad. I've replaced it in a suitable way for the new issue. So the new version of this is pretty much finished actually. Just a few odd synthesizers missing. We've added some extra stuff that wasn't there before. So there's like flutes and stuff in there now. All the lyrics are crystal clear. Still got the catchy melodies, catchy chorus, but it's still got that spacey sort of feel in the new version. The bass has got some real funk. I've played some slap bass in this as well. So that's a new skill that I've acquired. Stefan just needs to pop his drums on it once he gets his new studio up and running, and then we're ready to go. The next song, Stakes at Low Tide, you said earlier that you can remember this pre-existing the album, and I know why, because it was originally, from back in our university days, one of the songs that was on the MySpace initial very first Gandalf's Fist thing. And
this song has gone through so many iterations, like literally like the MySpace version, then there's this version, then there was a demo version that you did, which I that was slightly different, and then there's the re-record that ended up on Solway as well. So to re-recording this song again. This song is Gandalf's Fist, right? Pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, you're right. So, like, the original MySpace one was called Knives in the Dark.
Yeah.
Right. And the music was exactly the same as what ended up on Master and the Monkey. Like, all the acoustic guitars, all of the bagpipe synthesizer and all that kind of stuff, the snare drum and everything. I didn't change any of that. We didn't do any vocals or anything when we had the MySpace thing back in, like, you know, the early 2000s. But we did have a big, massive Lord of the Rings plagiarism thing going on. So we called it Knives in the Dark, and instead of having words, I just played on the electric guitar the Fellowship theme. So instead of it being like stakes at low tide, it was like da 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 da.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten that.
And you made on one of these like online video recording things, like on one of these photo compile turn into a video websites, a music video for this song.
Yeah.
And it had like a volcano erupting or something like that, and it just had all the fake fucking Photoshop things that we had made of our like flatmates and stuff. So there's a part in it when it's like so the bagpipes playing.
That was a weird time.
There's part of it where in this video
technology was, that it was there. But...
Yeah, you're right. The technology was there, but we just didn't know how to use it. There's a bit in the video where like my flatmate Ben, there's a Photoshop picture of him like on like another man's body playing bagpipes, and underneath it, as the music's playing, there's just a caption that just says, "Nobody tosses a dwarf." It's not even anything to do with the song. It's just on there on the video.
Yeah, you got to remember this was 2005. This was big. Like this was like only 2 years after the Return of the King. We were still in the afterglow of the special edition Return of the King set. Dean, that's what's happening there. I mean, part of that's where the heady days of the early 2000s is where that name came from, really, wasn't it? As we attribute it to Todd, it was the Lord of the Rings stuff that was going on at the time that was a big part of it. Yeah,
and you're right, it has gone through so many iterations, because I turned it into part of this concept that I was planning for like the dragon thing. And so I originally recorded some vocals on it on Master of the Monkey, and then I was like, you know what, this sounds shit. So like we released another single version of it, like pretty much straight afterwards, and put that up on iTunes and stuff as well. So there was another vocal version of it, like with some added instruments, I think. So there was already 2 versions of it available in 2011, and then towards the back end of that, we had Becky come and do the female vocal version of it from songs from the Soulware, and then we're going at it again. And the good thing about this is that it's been great to be able to like replace some of these synthesized instruments. Like there's some bagpipes all the way through there, and they're like actual performed, session musician version of this sounds killer, like the bagpipes.
Yeah, I heard the latest version yesterday. It's awesome. So yeah, no, it's good. I mean, they're saying this, if this is anything, this is the ultimate version of that song. It's everything done right, everything turned up. It's getting rid of all that 2011ness, 2010 kind of era stuff, and just making it an awesome track, which it is. It's a great song. And I say, the fact it's been around, well, pretty much 15 years now, and we're finally making it how it should be. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked the story that the folklore it was based on. So that basically, like, the premise of it is that the Solway Firth is like an estuary, for those of you who don't know, and like it's very tidal. So like twice a day it comes in and out and leaves huge amounts of like wet sand as the tide retreats, and it basically separates England and Scotland between Cumbria and Dumfries and Galloway. And there's this old like myth and legend on the Dumfries and Galloway side of the Solway, is that one day a great sea worm swam into the Solway Firth, and it would, by all intensive purposes, is a dragon, and it sort of would come out, and it would start eating the farmer's sheep, and it would lie on the warm grass and sort of bathe itself in the sun. And then after it started to get more and more hungry and got bigger and bigger, it started taking off with the kids from the neighboring village, at which point all the fishermen and farmers from around decided that they had to kill the dragon, but had no means of doing it. But when the sea went out, the dragon also went out. So as the tide retreated for miles and miles and went back into the estuary, so did the dragon, and at which point the farmers all went rushing out with big long pike stakes that they'd cut down from trees and sharpened at the end, and they put hundreds of them down and buried them into the mud. So as the tide came back in, it covered up all of these sharp stakes sticking out through the mud, and the dragon became impaled on the stakes that they had left there, and it let out a death cry for 3 days and 3 nights, and the seagulls feasted on its dead, rotting corpse. So I always thought that was a great story, and I'm always surprised that not many people know about it.
It is a cracking story. Literally, it's tales of old. It's it really is roots back into that kind of dark ages, really, isn't it? It's got that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on to the next song then? Siren's Kiss.
Yeah, this was me, right?
Yeah, this is your time to shine.
Yeah, you wrote. Now you'll have to remind me, because my memory's a bit fuzzy on this. The music come first or the words come first? Because we've done that a couple of times where I've wrote words. I think maybe that was later on, but this definitely felt like I think you had the music and I just kind of wrote some words around it.
Yeah, I think that's the way it worked. I definitely remember having the music first.
Yeah, and this was definitely sat down, listened to the lyrics, wrote the lyrics on scrap paper, sung the lyrics, recorded it, done. I went home again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We didn't even bother to write a second verse. We just copied and pasted the first one.
Right. You're right. No, we ran out. The reason why we didn't we ran out of time. We spent so long recording it, and you were like, "Oh, it's fine. We'll just copy and paste it and do the same one again."
Yeah. This I think has the potential, when we do the remaster and the monkey and we finish it off, to be a standout track. We had another go at revisiting this song when we did the Uprooted EP as a little fan taster. Still didn't quite get it right there, because again, rushed it again, always rushing, always we always stupidly impose arbitrary deadlines on ourselves when we've got nobody imposing them. We always do this.
Yeah, we announce release dates.
Yeah. So we rushed that again, but again, it came with some good ideas in terms of, I wrote a second verse to it then, and so we'll keep that. Obviously, I'll redo some of the singing on that for the special edition, and it's definitely going to be a cool track when we get it finished. I love the sort of Middle Eastern sort of vibe to it and catchy chorus. It's a cool track. It's the first sort of one we did which is proper spacey as well, psychedelic. I think it established that. Again, I don't know how it fits into the monkey frog concept.
I think part of that was we would just find our feet a lot. And I remember the way I wrote this was, I think there was some bitterness. There's definitely bitterness in this song, aimed towards women.
Who hurt you, Luke? Who hurt you?
Which is definitely on my part. But I think it's just I'm not. I definitely it definitely was written that way of feeling that certain times it feels like the world's against you. I definitely think that's the way that song was written for me, that the world's against you a little bit, and no matter what you do, there's always that, you always, people want to find mates, and it's very difficult in the world. It's certainly difficult, back in the day, and I don't know, that's how I feel. Bear in mind, I've been with my wife 5 years by that point, but let's gloss over that.
You know who else finds it difficult finding mates?
Go on.
Monkeys.
They do, and I say, I just, this is a track that this is my first track that I really wrote and put a lot of effort into, and when Road to Darkness came around and Songs from the Soulway, there was more stuff that we did there. But say this for me was my the first real go I'd had at writing music since it must have been 6-7 years prior to that. I tried to write music, and that was all awful. I found a folder full of that the other week. It's terrible. It was in my new metal phase, Dean. You don't want to read it.
Oh no. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Right, so speaking of characters from Master and the Monkey, the next track on the album is Maurice the Bat, or Maurice the Bat. How do you pronounce it? Maurice or Maurice?
Maurice.
Okay.
Maurice the Bat.
So it's an instrumental.
Yeah, I think Maurice is too. Maurice would be spelt differently, right?
Sure, like Maurice Minor.
Would be Morris.
Okay.
Maurice is French. He's French.
Right. So I wrote this little instrumental passage called Maurice the Bat, which you must have titled, because who the fuck is Maurice the Bat?
No idea. I don't think he's even in the story.
So this must be one of these things, right, where I say, like, what should we call the song, and you go Maurice the Bat, and it just stays as that. Because when I've looked at like some of the like session files of like me recording like the synthesizers and stuff, and I must have turned to you and said like, what should we call this? What should we save this file as? And you've just said something like, there's one track that I was looking for the other day and I couldn't find it. And it's because instead of being called the Siren's Kiss Synthesizers, it's called Jimbo's Hooter.
Of course it is. Oh dear. No, they were crazy days. Well, to be fair, just if we could pick up the other instrumental track as well, Salvia the Troll. That's just basically like troll noises, and Salvia the Troll's not in the story either. And that's the thing. I got to the point where you I think Salvia the Troll just came out of nowhere. You said, "Oh, here's a story about here's a song about a troll." You were off the chain by that point, mate. I think.
But it's not even got any words in, so we could have called it like, the drunk pelican or one of the other characters in the story. So why we had to invent a troll, I don't know. But one thing I will say is that I have already redone this song for the special edition, and there are words to it now. There isn't instrumental anymore. There are like lyrics about trolls and shit in it. So it actually needs to be called Xavier the Troll. And by the way, nobody spells Xavier with a fucking Z, so I don't know what the hell we've been doing with that. Must be troll spelling.
That's what it is. Trolls, they got their own language, mate. They got their own language.
Yeah. So we've covered the instrumentals in the track now, and so the ones that we haven't done left is Life and Crimes of Pierre de Gato. Now that is somebody who's in the story. That's the frog.
Yeah.
So this song's like is proper like proggy yes kind of thing in it.
Well, you know why obviously it's called Pierre de Gato? Because Gato's a French.
Yeah. And Pierre's the only French name you could think of.
French, frog, frog's legs, got no legs. Gato, French. There you go. Boom. Done. What's another French name? Francois. There you go. He's the monkey. That's what I'm thinking. There was literally no other thought put into this other than that. That was that conversation we had in the pub. That's how it went. And it was like, he's got no legs. He rides around his hat. Boom, let's have these characters. So, yeah, but the Life and Crimes. Now, I love this track. The thing that's annoyed me about this track was the really, really out-of-tuned instrument in it. And it annoyed me forever. And I tell you what, you tried to do this. I don't know whether it was for Rooted or something else. You had a go at this about 4 and a bit years ago or something, and you left that out-of-tune instrument in. I was like, no, Dean, you need to sort that out. And you were like, no, it's fine, it's part of the song. But that's all sorted now, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of out-of-tune shit going on in this, and the guitar solo is crazy out of tune. Again, it was just like, it's not quite in key, but it'll do because nobody's ever going to listen to it. And now lots of people are going to listen to it. So for those of you who have listened, the guitar players out there who have listened to this song and gone, oh my God, that guitar is awful at the end. Yeah, we know. That's why we haven't let anybody listen to it for 10 years. This album's basically a glorified demo, So it's an idea. It's where we were trying to go. You can obviously see, and we have gone there when we've revisited it. So there's nothing out of tune left in it for the new version. But if you're listening to this and you think, yeah, I can sort of see how a version of this song could be really cool. Well, us too, when we've sort of tried to fix that a little bit. I like the sort of bass line. I like the synthesizer-y sort of thing. It reminds me of something that might be on like War of the Worlds or something like that.
It's good. No, I say this is always like, obviously Siren's Kiss always got a special place in my heart, but this I've always liked this song. I just love the dum 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 that bit.
Yeah. Okay, so Dance of Hombros is the next one, right? This is the only song from this album that's been performed live by Gandalf's Fist, and it's been performed live by Gandalf's Fist twice, I think.
Yeah, just twice. Did we not do it at a festival? Did we bring it back for the last? No, we brought it back for the last gig, didn't we?
Yeah. So we did it in the very first gig at Planet Rockstock.
Yes.
Because you were too busy dancing to the little Baroque breakdown that you forgot to come in and sing. So I remember that vividly.
100%. No, I was busy dancing and forgot my cue. Which we'd had 2 days rehearsal like anything with Gandalf's Fist. We didn't do a great deal of practice for that either.
I like this song. We electrify it live because I can't be bothered having more than one guitar. I always just like, right, if it's got an acoustic guitar, we either make it a heavy version or we just do a sort of clean version of it with an electric guitar. So we do heavy it up a lot. But for the special edition, this original version is very folky. There's mandolin, acoustic guitars. You can see where the chorus is supposed to go. That needs beefing up a little bit, but we have sort of started with that. The verse has got a cool melody, and I actually like the sort of effects, the psychedelic effects on the original verse on this. Although when we had a review from some Middle-earth fanatic, the guy was like, "Hey, come on, Wapnar, you can do better than that."
Oh yeah. Sorry, just dipping back into the Gandalf's the Lord of the Rings thing. That was where a lot of our fan base came from to start off with, right? Because we were called Gandalf's Fist. We kind of tapped into that. I'd forgotten about that as well.
Yeah, we became contacted by a website called Middle-earth Network, and
it was the One Ring Net. They actually, when they had the Oscars win for the Return of the King, that was the party that was the website. That's the party that all of the cast and crew went to. That's who they.
All right.
They were basically the big online community for the Lord of the Rings and the Tolkien universe. They were the big thing, and we basically ended up being having radio interviews with the lead guy. But I say
I don't think it was the same website. I think it was I think it was. I think there might have been some crossover, but I think it was a different website. But they were definitely an American online website about Middle-earth, and they thought we were all about Middle-earth, and they were nice guys actually, and they did compliment this album quite a lot, and they did give us some support and reviews and stuff like that. But I just thought it was funny, hey Wapnar, you can do better than that. How about another keyboard solo from Admiral Poon?
Oh dear God.
So yeah, so I like this song. It's fun to play live when we make it really heavy, we play it really fast, and we added for the last time we played it, we added a back and forth between me and Luke where we just say proggy froggy proggy froggy proggy froggy proggy froggy at each other, which is
because why not? I mean,
so fun.
Hopefully, anybody listening to this, you will have hopefully or get the chance to see us live. This is pretty much how we are live. We don't take ourselves very seriously. I've been to see bands who just come out and they go, yeah, here's the song from this album, here's the song from this album, and here's the song. All right, thanks everybody, good night. And we're like, nah. Yeah, we don't do that. You come to one of our shows, you know you've been to a Gandalf's Fist show.
Yeah, it was described by somebody as like a prog rock pantomime, and it's not that we're like trying to be like as like silly as like a pantomime or something, but we just like to have fun. You know, if you go to see a show, you come to have fun, and we like to have fun as well. But yeah, Froggy, long may that continue. So we've done Salvia the Troll, Master and the Monkey Part 2. I know you said earlier that like I went away and wrote a second part to it, which is sort of true, but not really, because I actually wrote it before we did any of the Master and the Monkey stuff, because you might notice it sounds quite similar to like the Floydian stuff that we did on Road to Darkness.
Yeah.
Now, Emerald Eyes was done a couple of years before we did Master and the Monkey, when I was toying around with those ideas.
You'd finish them off and convert it into this kind of thingy.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, here's the rest of this song. And I'm like, all right, okay.
So it has got that Pink Floyd sort of thing. There is a psychedelic jam at the end. Now, again, I'm looking forward to fixing this song, because musically there's a lot going on for it here. The structure I like, a lot of the sort of riffs and like phrases I like. Just needs brought up and like polished up. It's like sort of exists in a demo form now, and I definitely need to redo the vocals, because for some reason I opted for like an Ian Anderson sort of like Jethro Tull whisper for this song. It does not fit it at all. I must have just thought, oh, let's just try that. It's prog rock. Let's do a time goes by sort of thing. Weird. It doesn't work. So apologies for that, Ian Anderson, but that's the way it was. I like the sort of groovy breakdown at the end. Yeah, this song was originally called Between the Spaces in the Stars. So it was originally properly supposed to be a space rock thing, not a monkey frog conceptual thing. So yeah, so maybe I'll bring out the more spaciness side of it when I finish off this song for the remaster and the monkey.
Now, unlike the Universal Wanderer special edition, there's no track that we are binning. Am I right? With everything that was on the original album will be there in some form.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's no tracks left over from the sessions that we decided, you know what? Let's chuck that one out and chuck that one in. This is how the album was. This is exactly, this is how we wish we'd have done the album 10 years ago if we'd have had the time, the energy, and the experience.
Yeah, because everything left over went on to Road to Darkness, and then stuff left over from Road to Darkness went on to From a Point of Existence. So, for example, I think like Into the Dark on Road to the Darkness and the song Monolith on Point of Existence were written like in the same week and recorded in the same week. They just didn't end up on the same album. Yeah. So yeah, everything will be on. Now there was one extra song that I sort of wrote after the fact, which was called Maurice's Revenge, and that went on to like MySpace or Reverb Nation or whatever. So we're not going to redo that. We're not going to swap that one in, but I've put it as a bonus track on this original version on Bandcamp or wherever you're listening to this. So there was an instrumental version which is based on the melodies and stuff of Maurice the Bat, but it's got more instruments and guitar solos and stuff. So it's another instrumental based around that character, and we did release it around 2011 time as like a sort of separate download song on MySpace or SoundCloud or some random thing.
Yeah, we did. I remember.
So that's going to be on there just for a laugh. It's a bonus track. It's not part of the main thing. Okay, so we've been through everything. We've talked for quite a while. Hopefully you can cut us a bit of slack when you listen to it. Hopefully this sheds some light onto why we haven't released it so far. We're looking forward to getting a spruced up version of this album out to you guys. And we're looking forward to our new album, which we are working on. Hopefully that one's coming out soon. And we've got a few live shows coming up as well.
Which new album, Dean?
Oh, don't get started on that. There's albums left, right, and centre, Luke. There'll be a new album at some point. Let's not say which one it is yet, because I don't know which one will be finished first. All right. Thanks very much, guys. I've been Dean.
I've been Luke. Thanks for being listening. Hopefully you enjoy this, and hopefully when we do finally get the remastered version of this out, you think, you know what? I'm going to give that a buy.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.